Welcome to the Metabolic Compass podcast, where science becomes strategy. Each episode gives you the most effective tools to recalibrate your biology, restore direction to your health, and unlock lasting wellness, resilience, and peak performance. Welcome back to the Metabolic Compass podcast, where we recalibrate your biology and rediscover your direction. I'm your host, Brandon Soika. Today, we're diving into one of the most fascinating and under-discussed ingredients in modern health science, ImmunoLin, a serum-derived bovine immunoglobulin that's redefining how we think about gut and immune resilience. To explore it, I'm joined by someone who knows this ingredient better than almost anyone, Brian Kaufman, Vice President of Proliant Health and Biologicals, the biotech company behind ImmunoLin. Brian's story bridges both medicine and the military. He's a decorated Army veteran, a nurse, and a formulator with more than 15 years of experience connecting clinical practice, biotechnology, and nutraceutical innovation. At Proliant, his work supports everything from vaccine development and diagnostic devices to the dietary supplement ingredients that help people rebuild their health from the inside out. What makes Brian stand out isn't just his background, it's his mindset. He calls it healthy problem solving, finding unmet needs in human health and creating science-driven solutions that actually work. He's been obsessed with optimization since his Flintstone vitamin days, and that passion shows in every conversation he has about biology, performance, and purpose. When he's not formulating or collaborating with scientists around the world, you'll find him coaching youth football and wrestling, cheering for the Georgia Bulldogs, or spending time with his 2 kids. In this episode, we unpack how ImmunoLin works inside the gut, how it modulates the immune system without overstimulating it, and why this ingredient might just be one of the most important tools for restoring balance in the modern microbiome. So grab your coffee or shaker and let's jump in. Here's my conversation with Brian Kaufman of Proliant Health and Biologicals.
Welcome back to the Metabolic Compass podcast, where we recalibrate your biology and rediscover your direction. I'm your host, Brandon Soika, and I'm with my good friend here, Brian Kaufman from Proliant Health and Biologicals.
Yes, sir.
He is one of the best when it comes to explaining ImmunoLin, which is an amazing nurture domain ingredient that we highly recommend for anybody that is in the nurture domains series. So what we really want to focus on today is for everybody to learn a little bit more about ImmunoLin. Brian is an expert here. He's VP of Global Sales for Proliant and can really break down the science about this and get us to really understand more about it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, man. You're doing great things with your podcast. Very gut health focused, but you really take that gut health and you showcase how that focus has so many benefits for every other body system. Because if the gut's not right, your skin's not right, you're not absorbing protein and nutrients in water and flourishing, and you just feel better.
Yeah.
So ImmunoLin is an antibody. Antibody is a very, very kind of new concept for managing gut health, but it falls right into the 5 R's of gut health, which was started by the Cleveland Clinic. The first one being remove, right? An antibody does one single thing. It's a protein that's coated with the acquired immunity from the donor, which would be a bovine source, that seeks out and binds on to various inflammatory bacteria, fungi, and mold that are actually the root cause of intestinal inflammation that then leads to breakdown of the gut. And what the consumer feels is bloating, diarrhea, foggy brain, their skin doesn't look right, they just don't feel good, abdominal pain, things like that. And modern medicine has taught us to manage symptoms rather than going to the root cause of that problem, which is that bacterial inflammatory antigen.
Yes, awesome. So now put that in kin symbol terms, like for the average person, so they have a better understanding of it. What is an antibody? Like, simplify that down and
Absolutely.
Understand.
So antibodies are your body's natural security team, right? It's their job to notice the invaders that are going to cause problems and interact with them to develop a memory immune so that they can react to them later. Or essentially, if they're already coated with that immunity, to bind and remove them, right? You use a great analogy, and I'm kicking myself in the butt because I'm a sports guy too, but you call it the catcher's mitt, right? And so the catcher's mitt, or the antibody, is ingested and moving through the microbiome and binding up all of this bad bacteria that otherwise would cause inflammation that leads to that bloating, diarrhea, flatulence, abdominal pain. By binding it up and not allowing it to be absorbed by the gut, right? Fewer foreign antigens in the gut lining allow the immune system to relax and send out anti-inflammatory messengers to heal and cool that gut layer. So it's a positive reaction from a negative mechanism of action. You're just removing the bad guys.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
The catcher's mitt.
Yeah.
Mopping up, grabbing all those nasty fat balls.
Yeah, watch out for that slider too. So, tell me, like, what is a problem for, say the average individual on a normal Tuesday? What would they experience from using ImmunoLin?
All right, so let's start with what the problem is, right? And many of them will consider this to be their normal day.
Sure.
Right? You eat lunch, your insulin goes up, you get tired, you get bloated, foggy brain, you're not really working that well in the afternoon, so you go for the coffee and another and another and another, right? The real problem is the lipopolysaccharide or various other inflammatory bacteria that you've come in contact or ingested in your food that sets off that inflammatory response of the bloating and the brain fog and things like that. When you add ImmunoLin or an antibody into your diet, it begins to weed the microbiome garden, essentially scavenging around that catcher's mitt, grabbing those bad guys, mobilizing and getting them out there. So then your good bacteria, your commensal bacteria can flourish. They can actually feast on the probiotics that you're giving it. It can actually take advantage of the butyrate from biomin or short-chain fatty acids that you're bringing in so that you live a healthier lifestyle, right? A healthy gut, happy life is kind of one of my things.
So, what are some maybe symptoms that might be alleviated from ImmunoLin? Again, you're living this kind of awful life in terms of your lifestyle. And again, what most people think is a normal lifestyle,
Yep.
and this is just kind of their normal day to day. What are some things that maybe they would experience from a positive perspective over time, say taking it for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks? What are some things that they maybe are going to start to notice?
So a great opportunity to tell you about a study that we did. It was a randomized placebo-controlled trial where we took IBS patients and we gave them ImmunoLin for 8 weeks and obviously tested their symptoms at day 1 and then went end of week 8. And the way that we set the study up is it was set up to showcase the reduction of days of these symptoms: bloating, diarrhea, abdominal discomfort, flatulence, and foggy brain, right? And after 8 weeks, there was a 30 to 40% reduction in the number of days that they had those symptoms, which was everyday for them, right?
Right.
So you extrapolate that over a year, that's like getting like 3 to 4 months of your life back. Right? So if you're the kind of person that is walking around, you've tried probiotics and you've tried other things, you have to start in that first letter of the 5R gut program, which is remove. You got to remove the bad guys. And that's where an antibody comes into play. It's truly the missing piece to the gut health puzzle.
Yeah. First off, the results there, the 30 to 40% reduction is just fantastic.
And these are the really hard to treat patients. These are people that have had IBS or Crohn's for decades,
Yeah.
right? You fast forward to today where your average consumer, someone like you or I, or your mom that normally doesn't go to soccer practice because she's bloated, she doesn't feel good, it doesn't feel healthy and things like that. Those are the people you're really giving their life back because they've gotten used to this norm. And now all of a sudden they're not bloated after they eat. They're not running to the bathroom 6, 7 times a day and things like that. They can enjoy and increase their quality of life. So people always say, like, what's the benefit? Barbecues.
Right.
Sunday barbecues, hanging with the fam, not worried about where a bathroom is, or not just feeling icky,
Sure.
so to say, because you're bloated after what you ate.
Yeah. That's amazing. Awesome. So now that we've kind of brought into the average individual and talked about what they might experience, let's dive in a little bit more on, you've mentioned that there's some other studies that you guys have done, and especially in a healthier population. Could you shed some light on some of those that you've done?
Sure. One of the things that whether you're a product formulator or a consumer and you've heard about antibody supplementation or specifically ImmunoLin, and you do a little Google search, the first thing you find goes, whoa, this stuff has 45 human clinical trials. Wow.
That's substantial.
Right? So this product actually started on the prescription side as a prescription medical food. It's still available through gastroenterologists and internal medicine doctors, but it's a super high dose. And that's because it's for my Crohn's patients, my ulcerative colitis patients, my HIV patients, things like that. But for an average consumer, to meet that market demand, we started doing healthy nutrition trials back in 2016, 2017. One of my favorite ones we did at the University of North Texas, and we used college students. And we identified that LPS, or lipopolysaccharide, is the most abundant inflammatory bacteria in your gut. It's the one that causes the most problems.
Yeah.
So we said, okay, we'll test those. So we took the population of college kids. We tested their LPS levels on day 1 to create a baseline. Then we fed them a high-fat diet, which was just a Tombstone's pizza, right? We actually let them vote on it. That's what they voted on. And I mean, but it falls right in line with the Western diet if you're in college, right?
Absolutely.
And so they ingested the pizza. We tested their LPS levels again, obviously through the roof.
Sure.
And then we kept them on ImmunoLin at 1 and 2 grams for 8 weeks. At the end of 8 weeks, we repeated the LPS test and shown that they were at baseline or lower. And then we fed them the Tombstone pizza, and the LPS levels never changed.
Wow.
Because the ImmunoLin was working overtime in the microbiome, that as soon as it was coming across that LPS, E. coli, Klebsiella, Shiga toxin, right? Alpha toxins A and B, which are mold particles that cause inflammation, right? It immediately has one job.
Right.
Antibodies bind to inflammatory bacteria. It bound them up, mobilized them, and moved them through the GI tract so that it didn't have that major immune response.
Amazing. So in that study, you had a placebo arm, a 1 gram arm, and a 2 gram arm?
Yep.
Awesome. And, between 1 gram and 2 gram, what was there statistically significant differences between the two, or?
Barely.
Okay.
Barely. And that's why I always tell, if you're a pretty healthy human person, start off on 1 gram.
Sure.
If you know that you bloat after meals, start off on 2 grams, but then you can titrate down to 1. 1 to 2 grams is really all that you need without understanding, doing a full history and physical on every single consumer,
Right.
and understanding whether they're eating Taco Bell 3 nights a week at 11 p.m.
Right.
Right?
Right. For the average person, if they use 1 gram for a longer period of time, would they still see the same benefits as saying take 2 grams and then titrating down to 1?
Absolutely. So this is a bit of a lifestyle product.
Sure.
And obviously, if you traveled, you have an acute onset traveler's diarrhea type thing, this is going to knock that out pretty fast.
Yeah.
Right. But if your norm is to be bloated or have abdominal pain and things like that, once you get off of therapy, it's usually because your body doesn't naturally make enough of natural IgG antibody to manage the bacteria that you come in contact, whether it be through your diet or your environment.
Sure.
Many of them will come off for 7, 8, 10 days, and then their symptoms will start to come back. And so they choose to prophylactically continue to take ImmunoLin to manage that, because what they realize when they're done is that, oh man, I had no idea that I had a problem. I thought this was normal. I eat, I bloat, I get tired, I have foggy brain. That's my afternoon.
Right.
It doesn't have to be that way.
Awesome. So obviously you've given a couple good examples of between your studies and stories. You got any other stories that maybe a person who took it for 4 weeks, 8 weeks, and saw maybe some substantial differences that you thought were, in your mind, like something that was really substantial, maybe something that sold you on the ingredient itself?
So I'll tell you 2 stories. The first one is real close to home because this is a patient I actually managed myself. I have a very non-traditional path. I was a nurse and then switched to the dark side and started working for pharmaceutical companies in sales. And then from there moved into nutraceuticals, because at the end of the day, I've always been about total human optimization. And so this was a lady that was on my frequent flyer list, right? I look at them like, oh, they're back. What are we going to do today? Right. And so I've been manager inpatient for a while. Now we've moved to outpatient, and I was doing her ins and outs. And she goes, Brian, I'm constipated. And I'm looking at the chart and going, okay, let's see where this goes.
Yeah.
And so I turned around, I was like, why do you think that you're constipated? And she said, well, you've been here for 12 hours and you're about to leave. So I've only gone 1 time today. And I was like, okay, well, how many times a day do you think you should be going? And she had like this huge, she was like, Brian, I go to the bathroom 7, 8, 9 times a day. I had no, I can't believe that I lived that life.
Yeah.
Right. So that one struck me big time, because most people, what they're experiencing is their normal.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be.
Right.
Okay. The second one, this is kind of where it bleeds into the support body systems and how they can benefit from a good gut barrier function and good gut health. I had dermatologists that were starting to use our product.
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to figure out why. And I ran across a really, really smart guy. And he said, Brian, just because the implications of intestinal inflammation don't reveal bloating or diarrhea doesn't mean that it doesn't affect other body systems. And he says, most of my patients, yeah, they've got some type of epidermis type issue, inflammation or a rash. He goes, yeah, it manifests on the skin, but it starts in the gut.
Yeah.
So the whole gut-skin axis, the gut-brain axis, your gut is the foundation of every other single body system.
Right.
So if you're not working to achieve optimal gut health, you're not working to achieve other body system gut health either.
Well, I think one thing that a lot of people don't realize is that the gut is essentially the last place of an external environment, right? We all think of our skin as being the external environment, and everything outside of it is outside of the body. But anything that's ingested is technically outside of the body until it passes through the gut lining.
Right.
So, this is our last line of defense before all this, again, LPS being a prime example, making it into the bloodstream, other endotoxins, other mold issues, food particles, et cetera, that end up into the systemic circulation and have all of these effects throughout internally within the body. So I think a lot of people think that when they ingest it, that at that point it's now inside their body. But in reality, that's still kind of like, you almost have to think of like our body is like, that's a tube that is on the outside, right? Like, almost think of our body as like, this is the internal piece, right? And this is still outside. Like, you're not inside my hand, right? Until it's actually crossed through into that layer. So
it all starts in the gut, 100%.
yeah, these are some fantastic results.
And a lot of people don't realize that, we've talked about like the gut is the second brain.
Yeah.
Right? 90% of your immune system in your gut. 90% of the serotonin, right? The healthy, happy chemical, right? Is manufactured in your gut. That's why gut health is cognitive, is mental health.
Yeah.
The condition of your skin is based on intestinal inflammation and hydration.
Yeah.
And if your gut has just been beat down with inflammation from overexposure to bacteria, it's not going to absorb all the water, protein, and nutrients. And that's why I've formulated tons of beauty from within products. I have a ton of pro athletes and sports nutrition brands that utilize it, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how much protein you consume. It's about how much you can absorb. Your body comes in contact with bacteria. The dendritic cells, this nice little spider guy, reaches through the gut lining, grabs it out of your microbiome, and it goes, hey, we want this or we don't want this. And if it is bacterial in nature and causes inflammation, then the dendritic cells will feed it to the mast cells and set off that inflammatory response. The good thing about inflammation is it kills bad guys. The bad thing about inflammation is it also kills good guys, and overexposure to inflammation, which is where most of these people are in, right? They're on this hamster wheel of low-grade inflammation they just can't get off. And that inflammation breaks down the gut lining. So what you want is your gut barrier to be nice and tight like this. But overexposure to inflammatory bacteria and that constant inflammatory response causes a slow breakdown. And next thing you know, you've got basically Swiss cheese gut lining, and it's allowing good stuff, bad stuff, food, things you want, things you don't want. And the immune system is just completely overstimulated and just goes, I don't know what to do. Let's send a monsoon of inflammation.
Yes.
Right. And that's where people just are not living a healthy life. They're bloated. Their skin doesn't look good. They don't feel good. They're not sleeping right. All of those things. When at the end of the day, all you need to do is go after the root cause. So I do this a lot of times when I talk to med students. I go, if you had a rock in your shoe, how much Percocet would you take to make the pain go away? And of course, they look at me like I'm the biggest dummy ever. And I go, well, of course you wouldn't take Percocet. You take your shoe off and remove the rock. But standard medical practice is to manage symptoms and not go after the underlying cause. An antibody specifically targets that underlying cause, that inflammatory bacteria, fungi, and mold, binds onto it, increases its overall size so that it can't move through the gut barrier. Here's a good way, this is what I explain to kids. So think about like a volleyball net. Volleyball net's got holes in it. Think of that as your damaged gut barrier. If you take a ping pong ball, that bacteria, and you throw that ping pong ball at the net, it's going to go right through, set off the inflammatory response, right? But when that ping pong ball, that bacteria comes in contact with ImmunoLin, that antibody, and it binds on and increases its overall size, now it's the size of a volleyball. You throw that volleyball up against the net, it's going to come right back.
Right.
So the ImmunoLin is binding on all the bad guys, mobilizing them up, getting them out, fewer foreign antigens in the gut barrier, allow the immune system to go, okay, we got less of these bad guys. Let's send out anti-inflammatory messengers and cool this gut lining down.
Right.
And then after that happens, that gut barrier that looks like this, those tight junction proteins start to express, the epithelial lines slowly start to grow back together until you get back to this nice, good, tight gut barrier.
Awesome. It's about dosing and timing and be ideal for, I talked about 1 and 2 grams, and you'd be doing 1 gram ongoing period, should be one titration dose of 2 grams now, maybe, explain how you recommend that would be a dosing protocol that would apply for the large.
Absolutely. So I separate patients into mild, moderate. Mild and moderate was pretty much what most people are walking around at. Severe, these are my immunosuppressed disease states. These are my IBS, Crohn's, ulcerative colitis, HIV patients. So let's start with that disease state area. They're going to take a super high dose, right? We're going to want to completely just overrun the bad bacteria, mobilize it up, get it out. And so those patients take 5 to 10 grams a day for the first 10 days, and then they titrate down.
Got it.
Length of therapy, no matter what level you're in or what volume of products you're taking, is 6 weeks. And for that, it takes at minimum 21 days for healthy new tissue to turn over in the gut lining, right? So you at least want to give yourself 6 weeks. Now, for your mild to moderate patients, you're looking at 1 to 2 grams. You start off with 2 grams, do that for 10 days, and then you can drop it down to 1, manage that out for 6 weeks. You will see results because you're removing the thing that's holding you back the most, right? Now, as far as how long you take it after that, that's going to depend on you. If you're traveling and you come in contact with a little bit of like traveler's diarrhea, right? You take 7-8 days of this, you'll be fine, right? But if your norm is to be bloated after you eat, or you've had IBS or Crohn's, or maybe even had like a round of antibiotics 6 months ago, and you haven't been right since, we'll eradicate or mobilize and remove all that antigens. But for the most part, your body doesn't naturally make enough natural IgG antibody to manage the bacteria in your diet or your environment. And many of them will stay on the product in perpetuity.
Yeah.
The lady that I talked to you about constipation thing, she's been on the product for 10 years. She knows that if she gets like 7-8 days without it, her symptoms start to come back. So you're just supplementing the body's natural IgG. If you have an interesting job that's super stressful, you don't sleep, you eat bad, or maybe you're in some type of environment where you're in contact with a lot of mold and things like that, this is a lifestyle for you.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing, like ingredients and products like that. When you start to see the positive benefit, you don't realize that it's still doing the positive things because now you've set this new baseline of what your real life is. And then the second you get off of it, you're like, oh, this actually is working still.
Absolutely.
It's still doing its job. And after a few days, a week and a half, and now your symptoms are starting to come back. Now it's all of a sudden like, oh, I need to stay on this product because it is doing a lot of really good things for me. What are some ingredients that you like to combine with ImmunoLin? An effective protocol that works well, things that maybe complement, or maybe in a protocol, say dosing titration of maybe we start with ImmunoLin and then progress to other things. What are some of those ingredients that you like to pair with it?
So great question. So one of the great things about ImmunoLin is there are no drug or food interactions. So whatever your current protocol is right now that your doctor's on, you can just add ImmunoLin in any way and there will be a benefit. It's not going to interact with any of your foods or anything like that. Antibodies have one role. They're literally like a sentinel with one job. Find the inflammatory bacteria, bind them, and get them out. So you can add them to any protocol. You have to worry about your diet and things like that. As far as what I like to add, if this is a severe patient, I want to start them on ImmunoLin first. I want to weed the microbiome garden. Once I get to day 10, then I'll start throwing in probiotics and Biomend, your butyrate product, sun fiber, glutamine, slippery elm, marshmallow, like whatever you want to use, right?
Sure.
But that's for the severe patients. For my mild to moderates, I love blends, right? Plus, it's 2025, we don't have a lot of time. We want everything now. And when you can just take one product that's going to have everything in there. If I had to like put together the best gut health formula in the world, right? It would be ImmunoLin, it would be Biomend, it would be sun fiber, and then I would add a really high quality glutamine. The other botanicals, and actually I might look at an enzyme too. If I'm building like the best thing, I'll throw an enzyme in there too, right? And then you can add all of your botanicals and things like that after. But if you're looking for 360 total gut optimization, absolutely. ImmunoLin, Biomend, sun fiber, an enzyme, and glutamine.
Awesome. You bring up a good point, like a product line that's going to be launching here in the near future called Driven North. One of their main products is called Core, and it fits perfectly within our nurture domain and kind of plays, with that perfect gut health product. It actually has a lot of those things in it, right? It has, instead of sun fiber, it's using solnol as the prebiotic fiber in there.
I like that. I like that one as well.
Yeah, it has Biomend, it has ImmunoLin, it has Afera, lactoferrin.
I love that.
Another great ingredient.
From Helena. They're doing great things.
And so this product should have kind of a very well encompassed. One of the things that we've talked about previously is with formulation. What are some challenges that you would have with ImmunoLin? And you had mentioned that it's unflavored. It's, pretty easy to work with. And that's one of the benefits of using Biomen versus, say, other butyrates.
Yes.
Right. And I know you've had experience.
That's why I recommend Biomen, because, most butyrates taste and smell terrible. And it doesn't matter if it's going to cure cancer. If the consumer thinks it tastes and smells bad, they're not going to be compliant. They're not going to stay on therapy at the right amount of time, and they're not going to get the results they want.
Right. And so what's nice is that this formula is going to be flavored. So it'll be a powder. You can mix it into smoothies. It'll be really easy to use and has kind of this all-encompassing gut health formula. And the reason why it's called Core is because it is the foundational product for the line.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, if your gut is the foundation of your entire body, right? And so I'll tell people this all the time. If you were buying a house and a realtor was showing this house, looks absolutely beautiful, right? And they go, yeah, the foundation's not that great. Would you buy that house?
Absolutely.
No way, man. Because the livelihood of the home is based on the structure and strength of the foundation.
Right.
And the only difference here is that your gut is the foundation and the house is you.
Yep. Exactly. Amazing. Who are some people maybe that shouldn't take ImmunoLin?
Okay, so there is one contraindication, right? So no food or drug interaction or anything, but because this product is a beef protein immunoglobulin, if you have an allergy to beef, I've never met one, but they're out there, it's not zero, you should not take this product. So it's supposed to be like less than 1/10%.
Yeah.
So
Again, I don't think I've ever come across anyone, but I know
they're out there
that they exist.
Yep.
Couple more questions.
Let's do it.
All right. So if, say you have somebody who's really interested, they really want to use ImmunoLin, they want to go confirm with their doctor, they just make sure they cross their T's, dot their I's, and they want to get their physicians kind of sign off on it. What's some information that maybe they should share with them, or maybe a 14-day protocol that, you would recommend that they can go back and run by their physician to make sure that it's safe for them?
I think first they should explain what it is, which is an antibody, right? That missing piece to the gut health puzzle.
Sure.
And explaining to them that I'd like to try antibody supplementation. I believe that I've got a lot of inflammatory bacteria that's broken down my gut barrier, and this antibody will bind and remove those so that then the probiotics and the enzymes and things that you're giving me can help the commensal bacteria flourish and I can get back to good. Over 14 days, I'd like to take 2 grams a day for 14 days. At day 7 to 10, I'd like to throw in the enzymes and the butyrate and probiotics and things like that, because we want to weed that microbiome garden and then we want to feed it.
Got it. Awesome. Perfect. And last question. This is one of my favorites. If you were to say there's one myth in gut health or gut immune boosters or just in the gut space period that you would love to see die, that you just are tired of hearing, what would it be?
Okay, so 2 of them. First one would be juice cleanses and juice diets. I can't think of a better way to set yourself up for type 2 diabetes than to eat no sustenance and then ingest 50 grams of sugar in 8 ounces multiple times a day, right? Let's get that one out of the way. All right. The second one would be, if you can, and this is the great thing about being in 2025 and the internet is amazing, right? Is when you look at the ingredients on the supplement facts panel and then you look at the daily value and the dosage, do a little Google search to see if the volume that's in the product per serving actually meets the studies that they did.
Got it.
Right. And that's why we did 5 and 10 gram studies on the severe population and then 1 to 2 gram studies on the mild to moderate, your average everyday consumer. And we stuck to that dose because a 2 gram serving is a lot, right? A lot of people, they're like, oh, do you have to use 2 grams? I'm like, yes, based on the data, if you want to get the results that you're looking for here, this is how much that you need. So look at the supplement facts panel, look at the dosage, and then do a Google search to see, is that the dose that they've used in the clinical study? Because a lot of times there are great ingredients out there, but the brands dose them at such a low rate, they don't get the result they want. And then they go, oh, I don't understand why this product isn't selling. Right. Well, the clinical efficacious dose is 2 grams. You put 250 milligrams, of which 50% are going to get obliterated in the first digested part of the gut. So I'm not surprised it didn't work.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you see that too many times that the products get underdosed. And that's where like a lot of times dietary supplement space does get a bad rap, is because there are some bad players that don't formulate products to be efficacious and just for marketing purposes. And making sure, I think it's a great point to make sure that do a little bit of extra research just to make sure that's the correct dose that should be in the product. So
it's a little bit of homework, but if you're really committed to getting well and living your healthy life, take 10 minutes.
Yeah, you want 30 to 40% of your life back?
Yeah, and AI will put it in there for you. 100%.
That's true.
You know, what is the clinical efficacious dose in the study for Solnol?
Yeah, right.
And then go, okay, this is what is the dose. Here's what's in here.
Yep.
These match or don't match.
Right, exactly. So awesome, Brian. This has been great. Thank you so much for
My pleasure, man. I love what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, you gave some great information for our listeners. Would love to have you back on at another point.
Anytime, man.
Awesome.
Good stuff.
Thanks so much, and we'll catch you all on the next one.
You've been listening to the Metabolic Compass podcast, where we bridge cutting-edge science with real-life application to help you reclaim your health one directional shift at a time. To learn more, visit us at www.themetaboliccompass.com or follow us on Instagram and TikTok at The Metabolic Compass. And if you haven't already, leave a review. It helps others find their way back to alignment too. Recalibrate your biology, rediscover your direction.